Businesses thrive by knowing customer insights because today's insights are tomorrow's facts. At iResearch, we live and breathe insights. And despite searching high and low, we were unable to find a customer insights podcast that answers one of the most important questions in business. Why do customers do what they do? So we launched one. Hi, I'm your host, Darshan Mehta. I'm really looking forward to this episode with Heath Tredell. He's the managing director of Bablake House Limited in the UK. We're actually not going to talk as much about his job per se. Certainly going to tell you what he did and what he's been doing and what has led him to where he is today. But I think what you're going to find interesting about our conversation with Heath is the aha moments he's had and his next chapter in life. So I don't want to give any previews here, but let's just start. Heath, welcome. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. And I look forward to talking to you.
No problem. Glad to be here. Glad to join you.
So let's start. What is one of the early aha moments you can remember in your life, and that is put you on the path to where you are now, which we're going to talk about, in stages here.
Probably my first aha moment then that I can definitely recall would be my experiences with my parents on holiday. So I will give you an example. My parents they were one of the first people in the UK to buy a motorhome, and they bought this tiny little Como Wanderer motorhome. So from the age of literally 6 months, I was dragged annually around Europe. We went to Yugoslavia, we went to Spain a lot, we went to Italy and Belgium, and we went all over the place. Actually, we didn't get as far as Greece. But we went through France a lot, and we ended up in Spain an awful lot on holidays, which was really very unusual for a kid back in the 1970s from the UK, certainly in the neighborhood I lived in. But they'd taken this opportunity to see the world. Now, when I was in Spain one year, one thing I did like to do was I loved to do snorkeling. And I bought myself a spear gun, and I got a little knife on my leg, and I'd lay with my face down in the water in Spain, looking for fish or anything else I could, pretend to catch. God never would catch me. So I used to love this. And I came out of the water one time, and there was something funny about my back. And I asked this person that I was playing table tennis with. There was a table tennis table in the campsite we were on. And I used to play with this boy from Germany, and his name was Stefan. And I said to Stefan, "What's on my back?" And he said, "Oh, that doesn't look good. You need to come and see my mum." And he took me to see his mum, and his mum went, "Oh, that doesn't look good." And I'm like, "What? What's the matter?" And what had happened was I'd got sunburn on my shoulders so bad that the seawater had got underneath my skin and lifted the skin on my shoulders off my shoulders. And that was fine until I stood up and walked out the water. And it literally lifted off the whole of my back as it went down my body. And it only stopped at my trunks. So I'd lifted all of my skin off my back, and inside, in between the skin and the flesh, or what was left of the skin, but certainly a big sack of seawater was down my back. So she literally got a pair of scissors and she pulled it down off my back and cut with a pair of scissors the skin off my back. Just above my swimming trunks. And she said, "Oh, that's not good. That's not good." Well, okay, that's neat. That is nicht gut. And she said, in very bad sort of English, sort of German, as it was, she said, "You must douche." And Stefan said, "Oh, you've got to go and get a shower." And I was like, "Right, okay." So I went into the shower, and oh my God, it hurt. I was in agony with washing this salt water off my back. And he said, "Oh no, you must come back to my mother. You must come back to my mother." So we get back to the tent, their tent, and she then she had them all cut up ready. She squeezed lemons down my back and patted the lemon juice into my back. And again, oh my God, it hurt. So she said, "In morgen kommen Sie herein, you must douche, and then lemon." And I was like, okay. And so I went back to my mum, and I got to meet my mum that night. And my mum said, "Oh my God, what has happened to your back?" And I said, "The lady put lemons on it and cut my skin off." And she was like, "We need to sort this out." So she went over, marched over to see this lady. And as parents of children, once she'd explained to my mother what she'd done and why, I had treatment of lemon on my back every day, and actually it was the best cure ever. Actually, I've never had sunburn on my back since. It's great home hack. Painful one, but really good. Anyway, within a week of knowing them, because the German family were only there for a 2-week holiday, so within a week of actually knowing them, sitting there and drinking and whatever my parents got up to at the time, the German family had actually said, "Look, you should come back and see Germany on your way home." And my parents went, "Okay, we'll cut our holiday back a few days and we'll call in Germany on our way back to the UK." So that's literally what they did. And when we got to Germany, we parked in the street, and they took us around the local town, and they introduced us to some of their aunties and uncles and parents, etc. And that was fine. But after being in Germany for only 2 more days with them, it was time to go home. And the German family then said, "Look, your son gets on very well with our son, Stefan. Would your son like to stay here?" And my parents went, "I don't know." And they turned to me and they said, "Would you like to stay here?" I went, "Yeah, okay." So they're like, "Okay, well, we're going to go home now because I've got to go back to work. My 3 weeks holiday's up, and we'll leave you here, and we'll just take it from there." So yeah, so they kind of left me in Germany with this random family of about 10 or 11 at this time. So they left their 10-year-old son in Germany alone with this German family, and basically the summer holidays came to an end, and so I needed an education. So I then started going to the German school with Stefan, and I was the best in the English class.
Oh, this is not like you're just going to stay a couple of days. You stayed a long time.
Oh no, I think it was probably about 2 or 3 months.
But what was the aha moment
The
then?
aha moment out of all that was a complete change. I mean, I lived as a German child in Germany. I very quickly got the hang of German, went to a German school, and came back from what was a quite normal holiday, having a completely different view of the world, I suppose, and about what the options were to everybody. I mean, in today's world, people would go, "Oh my God, you entrusted your child to this random family that you really didn't know. Anything could have happened with him." Back in those days, I'm sure things, again, it's a risk thing, isn't it? How risk averse are you? But my parents obviously trusted them enough to say, "Yeah, okay, you can look after our son. We trust you." And I had to get a British passport before I could come home, of course, but from the embassy down in Dusseldorf. But I think what it gave me was a desire to maybe think outside the box a little bit with regards to how I looked at my own life. So I then went to school. I went to senior school. But the very day I left senior school, you see, I set off. The very day I got my little bit of card from the class when I finished school, I ran home, got changed into some cycling gear, and me and my best friend literally cycled out of the UK into France and cycled through France the best part of 3 or 4 weeks, just camping and having a look round. 2 16-year-old lads on their own, no mobile phones, not even a real decent map, just a bike and a desire to have a look round. I think my desire to live my life as I do now is possibly as a result of the same desire I had as a 16-year-old lad to see France back then. So I think I've had a desire to travel from a very early age, and for probably reasons that are left to a German family.
And so then also when you were 16, your parents, an aunt came over with 2 people in tow, correct? So tell us about that. What was that? This is another aha moment for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at about the same sort of time, you're absolutely right. Just before I left school, I was sort of sat in the lounge minding my own business, and my auntie came to see us, as uncles and aunties do. They just turn up and visit and whatever. And strangely, though, I remember just running to the door, letting them in, saying, "Oh, hello, come in," sort of thing. And in walked my uncle, in walked my auntie, and immediately behind them were these 2 old people. "Who are you?" And they sat down and they just acted completely normal, like this was a completely normal thing to happen. And they started to explain, my auntie started to explain to my mother that she had started what was called fostering. Now, I only knew at that time that you could foster children. I knew that if children didn't have parents, they could become foster children to a family, and I thought that was fine. I didn't know, and I don't even think my parents knew, that the same opportunity is available, and you can actually foster old people as well. And they join your family unit and they live with you, and you just treat them as if they're one of the family. But you obviously have to provide care for them, so you have to help them with daily tasks. So if they need help getting in and out of the bath, or they need help with washing or dressing or whatever, then you obviously have to help them with that. That's your responsibility as a foster person. I can't say parent, I suppose, or whatever it is. So yeah, so my auntie turned up with these two foster elderly people in tow, and they just treated them like they were part of the family. And I thought, wow, this is quite interesting. During the conversation with my parents, my auntie happened to let out that I think she was getting something like £150 per person for looking after these, and she got that money from the government. A week? Oh my God, a week? You get £150 a week? This is back in the 1990s. £150 was a lot of money back then. And I thought, oh, so I got my pen and paper out and I was just lying there and did the maths, and 1 times 150 times 52 is, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a lot of money. 2 times, 3 times. And I was like, hang on, 10 times, 20 times. And I was like, when my auntie had left, I was like, Mum, you should see this. Look how much money you could earn if you had 10 people. And she was like, oh God, And I think my enthusiasm for my sort of aha moment was, look how much money you could earn. Just having 2 old people in tow. I mean, how difficult can it be, to look after old people? And I think my enthusiasm probably rubbed off on my parents a little bit, and they probably started talking, because within 2 or 3 years within that, we had, in fact, it was probably within 2 years, we'd actually extended on the side of our house over the garage, which was at the side, attached to the side of our house. We'd added 3 bedrooms and a little lounge and little bathroom and whatever. And all of a sudden we had 3 old people living with me and my younger sister and my parents. So a family of 4 turned into a family of 7. And from the age of about 15, yeah, still whilst at school, all of a sudden I had I was living with the old people that would come and go if they passed away, sadly. But I had old people living with me, and a desire, I suppose, and a love for that, actually, because you get to know them really well. They become part of your family, and you have to have a good soul, I think, to be a carer, to work in that sort of industry. If you haven't, you're in the wrong industry, quite frankly. But I think because I was that sort of age, it was just built into me to look after old people. I've just done it for most of my life, basically.
So then that led to another aha moment, because you guys started taking care of your parents started this business and they started taking care of older people, and you met 2 women. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, what happened was I didn't think my life was going to be any different to anybody else's. So I was a good cyclist in my day. When I was at school, I bumped into again the same best friend as I went cycling off to France with. He introduced me to cycling, and we trained together, and we become very, very successful cyclists in the time. But I thought my life was pretty much written like that, really. And so I didn't do very well in my exams because I was too busy concentrating on cycling. But I did manage to get the qualifications that I needed to get a job, and I got a job, and I thought I was doing great. I thought I was doing a good job. I was conscientious and was hardworking for my employer, and I would turn up early quite happily, stay late quite happily, and live out my life. And I met my first wife at that time and had a family and whatever. And then all of a sudden, through completely sideswiped really by this news that I was suddenly unemployed on a Friday afternoon. So this house that we were signing for on the Monday morning became a distant sort of wish very, very quickly. And it was this that made me think, I'm at the behest of these people. I've worked hard all this time, and all of a sudden my life's changing again. So I thought, well, what do I do? how do I sort of move forward? So I started a degree and I started at evening school. I was working as a marketing manager at that particular point in time for an import-export company. But it was okay. It was just a job and I treated it as such. But I was in the evening getting this thing called a degree that all these other people hadn't. Basically, Rover seemed to get rid of anybody they had employed that didn't have a degree. So I felt I should get one of these things. I didn't, education had never been a real thing for me. I don't really had a real desire to be academic, but I figured that if I wanted to keep a job for a long period of time, perhaps I needed a degree. So I did evening school whilst working as a marketing manager for this import export company, and I did that for about a year, but it wasn't getting me through life very quickly. It just seemed to be I seemed to be treading water, and I didn't seem to be getting anywhere. So I thought, okay. I'd always done the admin for my parents with the old people. So if they needed any paperwork done, I was quite good on computers. So I would help them with the admin. So when it came to the end of the first year, I sort of thought I wanted life to go a bit quicker. I wanted to get things more quickly than this. So I wanted this degree within the next 2 years. And the only way I could see of doing that would be to work very hard. If I put the work in, if I put enough time in, I would then be able to hopefully get ahead. So I thought, right, this is what I'm going to do. So I said to my parents, look, can I work for you full time? And if I work for you full time and do all this other paperwork that you want me to do, then it will maybe I can also do a full-time degree syllabus. And they said, right, do that then. So they were quite happy for me to bend the hours of work around classrooms times back in university. So I was doing a full-time degree syllabus and also holding down a full-time job, and at the same time trying to cycle for the county and my club. At the same time as I had a house with a mortgage and a wife and a child, and at the same time, as it turned out, learn scuba diving, because university offers you lots of opportunities, and I just couldn't pass up this wonderful opportunity to learn how to scuba dive, because it just seemed like a great idea to me. But in fairness, you're absolutely right. There was another aha moment at this point, because whilst I was doing this in the very first sort of year of in my second year of uni, I'm in my second year of uni, and basically there were these two old ladies that I was looking after. And they used to be best of friends, and they would sit there and watch television, and they would just chat about what was on the telly at the time. I mean, going back, I can think of things like the Monica Lewinsky affair and Bill Clinton. And, one of these old ladies would turn and say, "Oh my God, have you seen what on the television? Bill Clinton, that's terrible. That would never happen in our day, that would never be, he would never get away with that. Oh my God, that's terrible." And the other lady would go, "Oh yeah, I know, it's oh my God." And they would berate whatever was on the news that day. But one lady would turn around to the other lady and she would say, "He lives in the White House, And the other lady would say, yeah, yeah, yeah." And she'd say, "And that's in Washington, D.C., in America." And she'd say, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I know, yeah." And she'd say, "Have you ever been?" And she'd say, "No, no, never been." And she'd say, "You should go. It's a wonderful place. Oh my God, you should see the buildings there. I mean, my husband, he took me there back in 1970, blah, blah, blah." And she would then go into this lovely, lovely story of memories. And she would draw on this memory that she'd got in life with her husband, whereby they went to Washington, D.C., and they stood outside and they took a photo of themselves in front of the White House with the fountains, and she'd tell you all about the green grass and she would say it like she'd literally been there yesterday. And I looked at her and I would sit and listen to this and I'd be like, "Well, I've never been to America. That sounds like a wonderful place to go." And I looked at the other lady and I thought, "Yeah, you've never been anywhere." And because I knew them very well, I was their care manager, and I knew that the other lady had a very similar socioeconomic background. So they both lived in these little, what you call two up, two down houses in Coventry, and they two bedrooms, a lounge and a kitchen, and your toilet was down the bottom of the garden. They weren't great big houses, but so they had the same finances, but they'd chosen completely different paths of life. One lady had chosen a path that gave her wonderful feel-good moments that she could look back on, and the other lady hadn't. She had been on the same holiday every year to a little seaside town in the UK called Margate. And it's not a great place, but she had gone to the same hotel in the same seaside town in Margate. She hadn't even changed hotels. And we had taken her on a day trip to another seaside town called Hunstanton. And she was over the moon. She couldn't believe how beautiful a place this was down by the seaside. And I thought, that's quite sad. That's quite sad that you've got to, this lady's never going to get to America to see the White House because she can't get out of bed without carers helping her now. She's of that age. We take her for a day trip to Hunstanton and she thinks, oh my God, this is a fantastic place. And I know Hunstanton, it's average at best. So I thought, what the heck? I'm never going to be the old person in the care home who hasn't got any stories to tell and hasn't got any life experiences to look back on, maybe with regret, but hopefully with joy. And the world's such a big place and such an interesting place that at that point, that was it. I was committed to living out my life and going, I'm never going to look back and go, I wish I'd have done this or I wish I'd have done that. I'm going to do the very best I can to have a life that's fulfilled in experiences. And so from that moment onwards, I looked at them and I thought, how is it that a person can have such a different life when they've had the same finances pretty much as a person sat next to them? So I thought it can only be that they've made different life choices with their money. They both earned the same money, but they've chosen different things. So I thought that the first lady must have spent her money on objects, on items, on goods, rather than saving that money and spending it on experiences. So looking back, I've changed my life from that point onwards. So I've never bought a new car. I've never bought the latest iPhone. I've never bought the latest Samsung. I don't buy iPhones, but I've never bought the latest mobile phone. Only until very recently have I ever bought what I consider to be the top of the range laptop. I've always looked at the next thing down and I've never regretted it because I've always thought that the money I'm saving on getting this newfangled gadget at the end of the day, it's a gadget, means that I can save that money and I can give myself life experiences. When I look back, money could almost never have bought, if you know what I mean. So from then on, I've never had new things. I've always bought, nearly not nearly new. I've always bought new things, but not the latest things. I thought this lady must have spent her life doing the same thing. Sorry, in order to get her experiences. Whereas the other lady that didn't have the experiences, I felt must have been the sort of person who maybe was the first in her street to have bought the colour TV, or whatever the latest gadget was in her day. Maybe she was the first person to have an electric kettle, or maybe to have a twin tub washing machine was replaced. She was the first person to have a front loading washing machine, as is the normal nowadays. Back in the olden days, people bought twin tubs because you'd have one tub that washed the clothes and got them very hot and got dirt out, and then you'd have to get some wooden tongs and lift them out of there and put them into the spinner, and the other, and that was called a twin tub. But you see, there were.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You had this, aha moment, and what you realized was basically two things that I'm hearing. One is that what is life, but a summation of choices, decisions, and a summation of experiences. And so you take over the business now, and what are the results? What did you do? How did it turn out?
Very luckily, but with a lot of work, it turned into a very successful business. When I finished my degree, I had an option of either going to work in the city or to working in the family firm. That my parents had got older by then and had said to me, look, if you want to, you've been running the care home now for the best part of the last 2 years, or at least half of that time, if not more. Do you want to take over it full time and run it as a business? But if you do, don't break it, run it nicely and just look after it for us. It'll be our pension and you can run it. And as far as we're concerned, you've got a job for life. And I was like, well, okay. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy looking after old people, but I could probably earn more money in the city doing banking. I could use my economics as part of my degree, as I'd got it at the time, to maybe give me that sort of life. But I thought, London's also full of smog and full of streets, and I like cycling. So yeah, I'll stick with cycling in the country and I'll go and work in the care home and I'll run the care home business. So I did. But by then, clearly, I'd bitten off this bug that said to me, I needed to amass enough wealth, because there were three parts of it, aren't there, when you think about it? There are three parts to getting what you want out of life. There's this time, of course, very, very important. You've got a lot less of it than you think. It's such a difficult lesson to learn, but you really have got a lot less of it than you think. There's money, which you need to give you the life experiences that you might want to enjoy. And then there's health, and you need to obviously look after that part as well. I looked back at people and I thought to myself, well, okay, I was a dedicated worker when I was working for Rover. I would turn up early or I'd leave late and I was earning good money. But Rover would tell me when I could go on holiday. They would have a break in the factory and that was it. Everybody went on holiday at the same time. So you're either earning good money and you have the money, but you might not have the time because your employer might determine how much free time you've got anyway. And in retirement, when you get old, you've got loads of time. But maybe if you're not careful, you haven't saved up enough money. So that's another important thing. And if you're also not lucky enough as well, like they've done in the UK at the moment, they've increased the age of retirement and they keep increasing the age of retirement. So actually your age of retirement might be a lot later than you would like it to be, unless you save up enough money early enough. And when you get there, if you're not careful, you might not have the health. So you need those three things. You need time, money, and health to get life experiences that you want in order for you to be able to sit with your children or your great grandchildren even, and just talk to them about places and have a fulfilled life. Life fulfillment's different for everybody, and I understand that. I do. But what I strive for is to understand the world I'm in, understand me and how I fit into that. So basically, I had this aha moment with these two old ladies, and ever since then, I've planned and been determined to retire at the age of 50. The problem with working is that you never think you've got enough money. I meet so many people who are driven by money, where the desire for more money to maybe buy more things is a lifelong goal. And the problem is if you're not careful, you'll miss out on life. All you'll have is a load of stuff. So I knew that I wanted to earn money. I was determined to earn money, and I worked really, really hard at earning money. But I was going to retire at 55, come what may, whether I thought I had enough or not.
And to do that, you actually grew the business. I think you told me 800%, right? You hit 50. And then unfortunately COVID happened, so that delayed some things. And I think this year you're going to be turning what age?
I'm 56 this year, but it's funny because when I met my second wife, Pookie, one of the first things I actually said to her was we went out for this meal. It was our first date, and on the first date, I'm sat there talking as you do about just anything and everything, trying to charm the lady in front of you, But one of the things I wanted to know from this lady in front of me was I want to see the world. And I'm fairly sure I want to see it on a boat. I'd looked at other options. I'd looked at a motorhome like my parents had had. I'd looked at going on a motorbike, so I'd learned how to ride a motorbike, and I thought that might be a little bit uncomfortable by the time I get to 50. I'd even looked to maybe fly myself around the world. So I'd even done my PPL, a private license. But in the end, I decided no, a boat is probably the best way. It's so I actually said to her, look, I'm looking to sail around the world slowly when I'm about 50. What do you reckon? Does that sound like a good plan to you? And she was like, yeah, that sounds okay. Now, she's admitted to me that actually she didn't really take me that seriously.
In your favor and your wife's favor, she's Thai, and Thais don't like to say no.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And of course, Thais hate sailing. Of course, Thais hate the water. I know lots and lots of Thai people. None of them have got a boat. You know, they just don't like it. So she's probably thought, well, I'll say yes because I don't want to disappoint you, but really, it's not at the top of her list.
Little did she know she was passing the litmus test for you. So tell me the next chapter. What is it? You're going to be 56. So what are you doing? What's your next chapter here?
So I never got to stop at 50, even though by then, very fortunately, I did have the funds to retire at 50. But as COVID hit, they hit the care home industry very hard. So I felt I couldn't, and you couldn't travel anyway. So the world stopped, didn't it, for about 2 or 3 years. So that then took me to sort of 55. At 55 last year, that was it. Put the tools down, stopped working really. We found a boat in Spain. We bought a boat and we picked it up in a place called Cartagena in Spain at the end of 2022, this was. And in 2022, at the winter, we took it up to Barcelona, where it sat for the winter. And so last year was our first year of sailing. So we are spending, I say 8 years, probably nearer 10, but don't tell the wife. We're going to spend the next 8 years or thereabouts slowly sailing around the world so that we can enjoy all these life experiences, cultures, beautiful, beautiful locations that we've seen already this year. I mean, in 2023, without any experience at all, I'm no sailor. We've done the very basic sailing. I've never sailed at all in my life until the last couple of years. Nor has Pookie. You know, we don't know what we're doing. I don't know how to fix the boat engine. I don't know we don't even know how to sail very well, quite frankly. But that's not the point. The point is it gets us from A to B, and it gets us to see. We've seen some beautiful, beautiful locations. I mean, we park our boat in the most beautiful of bay. And we've done it all the way through France. We did all the south of France last year. We did all the south of France. We called in Monaco. So in the middle of Monaco in our tiny little boat, you know. But we're in Monaco. We're in Monaco, and we're seeing Monaco for as long as we want. And we ate out, and we had some fantastic times. And came all the way down the Italian coast. We ate some beautiful, beautiful food. And we stopped in the most beautiful of places. And I look back to shore, and I can see all these tourists looking out at the sunset. And I can either look back at the town, and it gives me a beautiful, beautiful view, or I can face the sun, get myself a glass of wine, a bit of cheese, and I can just watch the sun go down. But I'm in the way of all the people on shore. They think they've got the best view, but I've got front row seats on the boat, haven't I? And we've done this so far this year. We did that in Spain. Sorry, we did that in France. Like I said, we did it in Monaco. We did it in Italy, which was fantastic. We did it in Sicily. We did it in Greece. We did it in Albania. And now we're finally, where the boat is right now, is in a place called Montenegro, which is just north of Albania and just south of Croatia. Croatia, another beautiful country. I can't wait to go and see. I've been told it's a beautiful country.
So then you're gonna hop on the boat, gonna travel for the next 8, possibly 10. I think it's gonna be close to 10, I'm sure. Maybe even longer, you never know. But what's the itinerary? You're gonna go once you leave the Mediterranean, you're heading west?
We are. So we will slowly sail around the world. So we're basically circumnavigating because there's not many countries I don't want to go to. I mean, there are actually, strangely enough, continents I don't want to go down to, only because it takes such a long time to get there. It's not that I don't want to see them, it's just the sailing, and we're not sailors, would take such a long time. So our plan is to really see the Med this year, get a captain to help us sail across to the Caribbean, and we'll see out 2025 in the Caribbean, I think. So 2026, we think we'll probably do the East Coast. So we'll go all the East Coast, all the way past New York, into the lakes, the Canadian lakes, and we'll go and see, you know, all these beautiful places up there, and turn around, come all the way back down, go across the Panama Canal, and then we want to do all the west coast of America, all the way up to Alaska. You know, because there's some beautiful, beautiful places up in Alaska. And So we're not fair weather sailors, so that we're not really going, we'd like to see this beach, and then we'd like to see this beach, and then we'd like to see this beach. It's like, no, 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 no. That's not seeing the world. That's just seeing one different beach. I want to see cultural places. I want to see Canada in its true form. I want to see America. I want to then go from there to Hawaii. We want to fly to Galapagos. We then want to go from Hawaii all the way over to the Cook Islands, across the Pacific, down into Australia, and see Tasmania, see New Zealand, come back up into the Philippines. From the Philippines, we'd love to go and see Japan and China, and then we want to come back back into Thailand, over to India, and we really want to go around the whole of the world and end up back in the Mediterranean. We've got a real desire to see culturally diverse places in a manner that isn't how lots of people look at the world. Lots of people, when they want to go and see the world, they'll pick a flight and they'll go to a resort, a sandals resort in this far-flung country, and they'll sit by the beach. Oh, sorry, they'll sit by the pool. They'll sit by the pool, and they'll see a beautiful hotel on a beautiful resort. They might even hire a bike and cycle around the inside of the resort, and sometimes they might even get a guided tour in a taxi to go and see the local town. That's not seeing a country. That's just a different resort in a different place.
So you started this journey. You're going to spend quite a few years now. How can people follow you? How can they follow your trip and see all your adventures?
Just as we're not sailors, we're not really. We do YouTube. We bring out a YouTube video every 2 weeks of our journey. We're not YouTubers. I'm not very good at editing or anything like that. It is a real life look at our experiences in certain places, and we've kitted the boat out with actually CCTV, so that if anything untoward happens or funny happens, we've got it on camera. Because you've never got a camcorder when you need one, have you? Let's face it. So yeah, so people can look us up. We called our boat, like I say, my wife's Thai, as you mentioned. She wanted to call it something Thai related. So in Thai, when you welcome, you say, as a lady, you say "Sawadi ka," and as a man, obviously, you say "Sawadi kap." So our boat is a catamaran. So we've used the word catamaran, and instead of "Sawadi ka," we call it "Sawadi cat." So it's "Hello Catamaran." So yeah, if you look up Sawadi Cat, we've got a website that we do use, a blog, and we've got a YouTube channel, and we also, Cookie, my wife, posts on Instagram every day. Actually, she'll post on Instagram something or other, mainly food related. My wife, during COVID, my wife was sitting at home, and I thought, you're not doing enough. She sold her business. And then just sat at home during COVID, as most people did. So I decided I would enter her into a little competition called MasterChef in the UK. It's a televised event. Actually, it's quite a big competition, in fairness. I think somewhere in the region of between 10 and 15,000 people apply most years to become a contestant. We love food. We love food, so a lot of our videos, even though there's sailing videos going around the world, we also have a lot of food input. If you could see from my shoulders downwards, I kind of go out a little bit because I enjoy my food. We make little cooking videos, and we've always made little cooking videos to give ourselves something to do. And she still makes cooking videos. We literally made one this morning. We did a little Somtown street vendor takeover only this morning. So she was showing people how to make somtam. So yeah, we enjoy it. We try to keep it fun. We try to keep it very relaxed. It's not scripted at all.
What's the name of your YouTube channel?
It's called Sawadi Cat.
And how did your wife do on the Master Chef?
She did really well. She was actually runner-up. She got through everything. She was right up in there in the final, just pipped by a really nice chap, and a very worthy winner called Eddie. He's now looking to open his own restaurant. But it was a great year, and she's a very unique cook. She's got her own Pookie Style, which is her website, and actually her YouTube channel is called Pookie Style. Or if you look up Pookie Style Cook or Pookie Style, you'll find her as well. And she talks a lot about food. So yeah, we enjoy life. It's good fun.
Well, before we wrap this, I have a last question for you. If you could have lunch or dinner with anyone in the world, and you have many different areas you could talk about, who would it be and why?
When people ask this question, they often pick sort of rich and famous people. I'd probably pick my nan, probably because family is, like I said, really important. You can't ever buy back those sort of moments with loved ones. Life is what you make it, and you have to put in a lot of effort to get out what you want. But without thinking about it in advance, without a little plan, you can easily go off track.
I've taught, and often I would tell the students, and when they go into college, I'd say, you're going to get out of college what you put into it. That's the same with life, right? You're going to get out of life what you put into life. Don't expect to get more out of life than you put into it, because it's just one of those laws of the universe. If you want more from life, put more in it.
Very, very true. And I think as well, it's going for it. It's literally so many people just don't believe how far they can go, and they hold back. And I think a lot of people can go a long way in life if they just go, that's it, I don't care. I'm just going to see where it takes me.
Everyone's heard this, but people don't, I think, truly realize how true it is. And that is that if you really put your mind to something, you can make amazing things happen. I mean, you're a case in point, right? At an early age, you decided that you were going to retire at 50. That's it. I mean, that was a line you set in the sand for you, right? There's no right or wrong. This is what you said. But as a result of that, you made all these decisions to get you to that point, right? That was your driving point. And that's the thing. You put your mind to it, you focused on it, and then you made all the decisions to get to there. And it just didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen by itself. It's a conscious effort, and it took commitment.
We all get one, don't we? We only ever get one life. So you've really got to commit to it, haven't you? I mean, what else is there to do?
Yeah, what's the choice?
So,
I mean, there was two choices, right? You can survive, you can thrive. You do have a choice.
Absolutely.
You want to survive or thrive.
Absolutely. And people don't realize, if you're prepared to put doubts to the back of your mind, maybe that bit of fear you might have to the back of your mind, and say, no, I'm going to go for it, come what may. You'd be amazed at what you can achieve. Really, you really can. Yeah.
Well, listen, this has been a pleasure talking to you. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to keeping up with your travels and adventures, and seeing where you guys are going and cooking and learning and all the cultures. And I'm looking forward to it. So thank you very much for joining me on the podcast. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. I've really enjoyed it.
Getting to AHA was brought to you by iResearch. To find out more about us, head to iResearch.com. And make sure to search for Getting to AHA in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else podcasts are found. And don't forget to click follow to ensure you don't miss any future episodes. Thank you for listening.